Hearthstone Connection Podcast Network. Welcome into Ryan JT's Excellent Wrestling Adventure. This show is simulcast on video and audio. Video on our YouTube channel at North South Connection, where you can like, subscribe, and comment away and watch us on screen. And this is one of those ones you may want to watch us, as we're going to have some graphical addition to this. But you can also listen if you'd like to listen along on any podcast application on North South Connection. We have a lot of shows that are simulcast with video and audio, but you also have exclusive content. Some is just audio, some is just video. So best bet is to subscribe to both YouTube and on the podcast apps, and follow us on social media. That way you never miss a thing. You can capture all of our content, which we appreciate you doing. Ryan, how are you?
Justin, I am good. I am in the midst of the end of episode or season 1. We are here in seasonal format. We're at the end of season 1. I'm ready to wrap this bitch up and head on to season 2 before I turn heel on your ass.
Are you surprised we found 10 pilots to watch that were all under an hour and different? I was a little surprised.
A little bit. Well, initially it was an let's get in the weeds here. Organically, you were like, all right, well, let's do this adventure because we're doing video. It's going well. We'll do the adventure. I said, sure. And he was like, what, do you just want to watch stuff with our friends? We're sick of prepping. We're so fucking busy in life.
Yep.
Let's just do something we can throw on and just something we can graph. And I was like, well, why don't we start with a few pilots? And then I was like, why don't we just do a season format? And here we are. So we're at the end of season 1, and pilots for our pilot of an adventure just seemed to work out great.
Yeah, it was fun. We watched some really cool stuff. Some stuff I had never seen, some I hadn't seen in a while. So we went through, we did 9 episodes. So at the end of every season, for the 10th of the season, we're going to do this kind of recap / award, recap of the season. And then we'll kick off the new season with episode 11. And at the end of this episode, we'll reveal what the topic will be for season 2. So stay tuned for that. So Ryan, what we think we do here is pull up your sheet. You worked hard on this. And what it does, it recaps all of our awards with us and our guests of every episode that we do at the end of every one. And we thought we'd kind of go through and pick the best of the best. So we're going to go through every category and kind of pick the best of each category. And then at the end, we will kind of maybe just talk about some of our favorite moments. What are the best matches we saw? Maybe the best segments. Maybe favorite guests. We'll see. I don't want to hurt any feelings. Poor Slomka.
Poor Grudy.
Poor Grudy. Grudy worked hard.
Yes.
All right. So why don't we go ahead and dive in here? So let's. It's a little tough to see on the video, but if you're listening, you want to hop to YouTube, you can see. Ryan did a good job. If you maximize the screen, go full screen on this YouTube, you should be able to see what Ryan has on the screen. It's a lot of words and numbers, but
yes, I was in my bag. I may have peaked with my graph game right here. Like,
you think so?
I have pictures, I have averages, I have
everything.
Columns, everything fit.
It's a total package.
Coordinated. It's our theme, color.
Yeah, you did okay.
Give me leave your likes in the comments.
If you like this graphic, make Ryan feel good. He doesn't get enough positive reinforcement, apparently. All right, here's everything we watched. Let's lay this out in case you're new and you're trying to catch up. So we started with the premiere of Duty of Superstars, September 6, 1986. We did that with Rocco Martone. We then went to the next day and did WWF Challenge from 9/7/86 with Steve Bennett. So we did Superstars and Challenge, 2 beloved shows, did their premieres. We then jumped ahead to Velocity's premiere on 5/25/02 with Logan Crossland. We went back in time to the Action Zone premiere from October 23rd, 1994 with Tim Slomka. We then went ahead a few years to WWF Sunday Night Heat on August 24th, 1998 with our buddy Aaron George. Jumped way ahead to the modern era, 10/4/2012, the premiere episode of Main Event with Marcus Fuller. Yep. We then went to WWE Confidential, is what you just referenced there, with James Grunberg. Grooney from May 25th, 02.
Same day as Velocity.
Yes, it was. We then hit WWF Shotgun Saturday Night with Chad Campbell. That's on January 4th, 97. And, of course, that's right in the era him and I are covering on Wrestling Warzone, the Monday Night Wars podcast we do. And then our good friend Jennifer Smith joined us to close the season out with WWE ECW on Sci-Fi from June 13th, 2006. So I think we spread the gamut pretty good. And we went from 86 to 2012. We hit a lot of different types of shows. Again, everything was under an hour that we watched. There was a lot of cool stuff on there. But I thought what we could do now is go by column, and we'll go kind of award by award, and we'll talk about our favorites. But why don't we work backwards? Because I think we want to end with the show grade.
Yeah. So we wanted to
yeah.
doing all WWE/F was organic. We tried to mix in some WCW. We had specific guests slated for WCW, and they big timed us. Or
Big time.
we pushed them to season 2. So we wanted to do WCW. We wanted to do the original ECW, but we unfortunately or
The
fortunately
pilots were weird for those
stuck
two.
with all
Like,
WWE because we wanted to stay under an hour.
and we didn't want to do like we're not gonna do the freaking first Nitro again. Like, we're gonna do, even Thunder or whatever. Like,
Been
so
there, done that with stuff. Yeah.
yeah. And I think for ECW, like, you're talking Eastern, like, it would have been a little shaky. But we are gonna hit. Our plan for season 2 is to hit some WCW and ECW stuff when we get to the topic later. So it did end up being all WWE centric, all under an hour. One of the categories we did was the most thing of the era.
Yes.
So as you can see here, like, some of the stuff we had was, so for superstars, right? It was like, what is the most September 1986 thing, right? The most
I thought the
May of
Blazers for
02
sure.
thing,
Yeah.
right? So, like, we tried to hit on it, and I think we got some pretty interesting ideas. I think one of my favorite ones, I think, was Grooney, actually, for
Snickers
Confidential.
Crunchers.
Snickers Cruncher is like very, very 2002 for sure.
Yes.
Heat, Sable's boobs are all over that. Like, that's, your horniness is all up and down these. We know that, but
I am who I am, Justin.
that's true.
Big Valboski peaked here too with your
Yes.
Big Valboski Burbage. A lot of boobs, a lot of Sable.
I think Pete Doherty's socks on Superstars is an underrated one because he had those big high socks with the 1980s tube socks with, like, the lines around the top that every guy wore in the 80s.
Mm-hmm. And
Marlena
the Macarena.
The Macarena is very.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't think we're gonna kind of get out of there a little bit,
Charlie Min. We got Charlie Min.
Mm-hmm. And of course, Jenny with the pick of the night of Trinity. Kind of tugged my heart a little bit there. Back to the horniness.
Tug your heart. So I would say, I have a tie. So if you want to break the tie, I got Grooney with the Snickers Crunchers from May of 02, and then me and Chad from January 97, the Macarena, which is like Macarena in late 96 or late 97 is hot and heavy. That is, and it's not just a Macarena. Todd Pettengill does a parody song and dance to Masquerita Sagrada in a very racist, insulting way to poor Masquerita. Does a Macarena parody and then dances while doing it. So to me, the idea of a parody song to the Macarena of Todd Pettengill in 1997, like, he would do this on his radio show probably. That to me is probably the most of its era.
I'm for it. The Macarena for the win because my grandfather, who was probably in his 80s, 90s at the time, had that cassette player, and he should have been nowhere near the Macarena. That's how big the Macarena was. So
if you couldn't go to a wedding, a party, a dance, like anything you went to, the Macarena was playing. It was on the radio constantly. You could not escape the Macarena. They were on MTV all the time. The two old guys dancing in the white background. That was everywhere. So
we went to his Jesus Christ cassette players in the car reading us the Bible to the Macarena when that cassette was over. So
there you go.
That's for the win right there.
All right, best segment or match. So I think we're in agreement. Probably the best match we saw was Bret Hart versus Owen Hart on Action Zone. Punk Sheamus on main event was very good as well. Yeah.
Yep. And then third would probably be the cruiserweight match from Billy Kidman and Tajiri from the first Velocity.
I liked Shamrock and D'Lo Brown as well. Like, that was pretty good on Heat.
But it was only like a 2-minute and 40-second match. There's nothing wrong with that, but that's just very Sunday Night Heat of it at that time. The Flower Shop was definitely a peak segment for sure. Sandman, Kane, and the Zombie for
that's
sure.
the other one I was going to say. And then I think, again, from, we kind of joked about doing Confidential with Grooney, but well, no, Shotgun too, but I think we joked a little bit about doing Confidential on a show like this. But Sean admitting that he screwed Bret was like, that was a big deal. That's probably the biggest thing we watched on any of these was Sean admitting that Montreal was
in the time. For sure.
Yeah.
It just doesn't. It's been 17, 18 years since then, so it's
right. But I think it's the biggest thing that happened on anything we watched.
The reveal, yeah.
So I would say match is Bret Owen, and segment would be Sean admitting he was in on it with Vince. So I think those are like kind of hand in hand with each other. It's like the biggest things we saw.
Mm-hmm. This next one, LVP, is easy for me. Uncle Luke, every day of the week. That he even comes up in conversation is right there. If you ever never listened to the Cronoso where I had to go over the Saturday night's main event wedding, I was very stressed out with Uncle Luke, the Hillbillies, and Captain Lou. But it was a good
I mean,
podcast. So I recommend
you don't have to tell me. I despise the hillbillies of the 80s. Cannot stand Uncle Luke. I think it's cousin Luke. Actually, you put Uncle Luke. I think it's cousin
Yeah.
Luke.
Hey, I was just so ready to get it out of my brain. You're not perfect,
So I'd put cousin Luke up there. I like Chad's pick of Crush on Shotgun because he's so fucking rancid during that era in the ring, and he really was. If you rewatch that episode,
Was
just
he a part of
drops.
the brawl though? No, he wrestled in that match.
He wrestles Gold. No, does he fight Goldust? I think it's whatever it is. It's
Goldust
bad.
Sultan. It's Goldust Sultan.
Yeah, who the hell does Crush fight? Ahmed? Maybe it's Ahmed.
I'm mad that it spills out to the outside.
Yeah, it's bad. I mean, either way, he just drags down. Having him in the ring just drags it down. Kelly, we talked about in our last episode. Poor thing, trying to dance. I know she looked great, but her trying to dance was just no
low-key
bueno.
Jenny, I think low-key Jenny was a little envious of it, but we'll see.
Oh, you think so? All right, yeah, it's possible.
I
didn't
think
factor in that. I didn't factor in that angle.
I think Jenny has heat with blondes, so Kelly was due off the, was kind
of possible. It's possible.
Right off the spot. But anyways, I'm with cousin Luke.
All right, I'll go cousin Luke because I have a documented history of the hate of the hillbillies.
Maybe Uncle Luke too, while we're at it.
The whole family, the whole Luke family. All right, MVP
of the whole season here.
Yeah, I'm trying to look at some of the unanimous ones. Punk and Brett are the two unanimous ones.
Mm-hmm.
I really loved Backlund on Shotgun, and I know you did too. He was like fucking in his bag on that episode, and he's great in that whole run.
So good.
Sunglasses, putting the jacket over Sultan's head while Marlena flashes him. Like he's losing his mind when she whips him out.
Can I make a pitch? Can I make kind of a pitch here?
Yeah.
I know you did pick him. Jenny was in agreement with me, but Paul Heyman, we really enjoyed that ECW whole vibe and show. And that was off the back of Paul Heyman, maybe peak Paul Heyman in the WWE before returning with Brock later on. But it could be Brett having the best match, maybe, so to speak. But
I liked Paul Orndorff on Challenge too. Like he looked like a star on that show, and that's right around the big event. Like he's a big deal at that point. He looked awesome. I mean, I was the only one who picked him on that one, but I stand by that one. I thought he looked fantastic on that challenge. But I'm okay with going Brett, or I mean Heyman's whatever. But I think Brett was unanimous. It was our best match. He was great against Owen.
I'm good with that.
Yeah, make Marcus happy.
Yeah. We should actually change it. DX.
All right. As a pilot episode, just by the numbers, we have a tie for the best. 3-way tie.
On average, yes.
With Challenge, Action Zone, and Heat. All tied for 7.5. Our worst was Shotgun at 5.2 as a pilot. You kind of sandbagged that. You made it a little bit low with your 4.
I did. I'm surprisingly.
Oh, actually, that was tied with Velocity. It was also a 5.2.
That's with me rounding up. I'm not doing 5.16, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
So your boy rounds up. I honestly, if I were to go back and rewatch a pilot, if I'm falling asleep, we both notoriously do it, as others do, I'm sure. Throw on something to fall asleep to. I'm probably putting on WWF Challenge from '86. I'm putting that on over Action. Oh, Action Zone ain't bad.
Not over Heat though. I don't know if I'm putting it on over Heat. Heat was good. Like what I liked about Heat was all the stars. They had all the stars on Heat. They had was Austin on? I know they had DX. They had wasn't like Taker and Kane on.
Backstage segment, I believe.
No, Austin comes out at the end, doesn't he? Doesn't he come out like in the final thing or whatever?
But here's my thing with Heat. It moves so fast.
Yeah.
You don't really. What did we really retain? You know what I mean?
No, you're right. I don't remember if Austin was on, so you're right.
It was more of an infomercial for the next night, where Challenge was like the B show, but it was also the 1A show in an Institute of Superstars.
All right, well, rank the 3 best. How are you ranking them?
All right. So Action Zone had the best match. So I would probably put Heat last just because I don't recall.
And you were higher on Heat than the other two. So you had a 7.5 on Heat. and you were 7 on the other 2.
Yeah,
Just
I
saying.
guess so. Aaron sent back the heat. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I had an 8. I mean, to me, that was my high
Yeah, that's
of the
great.
season.
I had it at very good. Aaron
I
had
think
it
we got to
at
put a
good.
Heat. You got a 7.5. I got an 8. That's the
Mhm.
highest combo for me and you.
All right, the biggest star power, the fastest moving, but I'm
Most
kind of the most
exciting.
nostalgic for WWF Challenge. But Heat probably had the most viewership too, for
Yeah.
sure. Out of all of this, it may have meant the most. Challenge may have meant the most for the current show, perhaps. Heat is out. Let's go Heat. It was the biggest peak of the WWF out of the 3.
Yeah. Yeah. I think if I'm throwing one on to watch, like I'd probably throw Heat on because it feels like the most exciting. Maybe not to fall asleep. Like Challenge is probably good for that because it's low key and quiet, but and fun compared to Heat. All right, as a show, I'm curious how this stacks up if it's similar. And it looks like Heat was our no, I'm sorry, Main Event was actually
Main
our
Event
highest
was our
grade.
best show.
Yeah, with a
Now
6.2,
it
just
had the
above
tag
Heat and
match with
Action
Zack
Zone.
Ryder, so we were in our Zack Ryder bag love fest for a little while. Had the probably second best match of this whole pilot with Sheamus and Punk.
Yep.
It had like a really cool vibe of Matt Striker, or was it Miz? Not the Miz, was it Striker in the ring
Yeah.
doing like they had a Saturday Night Main Event kind of promo-ish type of thing too. So
Yeah.
it was definitely like the most polished show that we watched. And it was
I
the
think that
best
helped
show.
too, is that it's
Yeah.
during a polished era. Like they know how to do TV by 2012. Like they're on point with their programming and presentation, and it looked the best. It was, treated the best. Like so, I think from that regard. Now, I'll be honest, it's probably a bottom 2 for me if I'm like picking what I'm going to watch. Like, yes, it was
Yeah.
probably the best actual show. For me, it wasn't. I
And
didn't
I
have it right.
agree.
It wasn't
I
my
agree with
highest.
you there too. I'd rather watch ECW
Right.
with Jenny. I'd probably rather watch Shotgun's hard. It says it's our worst, but like the
Right.
grunginess, throwing it on, I'd rather watch that than the
I'll be
clean
honest.
polished main event.
I think Shotgun's the one I'm putting on of any of these. Like, and
Well,
maybe Superstars Challenge, like as a show.
honestly, we're probably not putting on Velocity to be true.
No, that
Or
was kind of
Continental.
boring. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, it was also Logan.
I think so. We liked Heat as a pilot, and we kind of leaned that way as a show because we were saying, what are we putting on? But I'm also okay going if you want to split the difference and say Heat was the best pilot. And if we're going to watch something, Challenge isn't that far behind on these grades.
No, I think
I
Challenge
could
was
see the argument for
significantly.
saying Challenge is like the best show.
Yeah. I think Challenge was significantly better than Superstars, and they were back-to-back days, which is weird. It had more of something we'd be more into, sports entertainment with the whole King coronations. Had the best match with the Bulldogs and the Moondogs, and then they had the Orndorff squash match that you thought it was excellent. So
Yeah, it was awesome. Yeah. All right. So we'll say Heat had the best premiere, and maybe Challenge is the best show, even though our grades don't maybe bear it out. Kind of looking back in retrospect as we've seen other stuff play out, but they were all a lot of fun. I'm glad we did this concept. I like that we did the pilots. We kind of have season 2 mapped out, but if you have suggestions, throw them our way because, like, we can still sub stuff out maybe or have future season ideas. We have a few things laid out, but we're also always welcome to suggestions. Any final thoughts on season 1 before we reveal our topic for season 2?
all S tier guests. If we're ranking them,
Yeah.
don't bust out the graphic. All S tier.
All fantastic. Even Grooney did a good job.
Grooney did good.
Yeah, Grooney did good. Bennett was great, and Rocco, because they love that era. You could feel the passion
They
bleeding
really
through.
set the tone, kicking this whole project off for us.
Logan loves that 02 era too, so like he was really sharp with
Velocity.
Velocity.
In his bag, Aaron.
Slomko is great. That's right in the New Gen. He's got the New Gen podcast on audio every other Tuesday here. Aaron's always fun, obviously covering Attitude. Marcus loves that freaking early 2010s era for some reason. So we really tried to get guests that identify with the eras one way or another, right? Like Grooney, like anything 99 to 02 is in his wheelhouse. Chad, you don't maybe necessarily associate him with 1997 WWF off the top of your head, but we're covering all of it right now, Wrestling Warzone. So
yeah, and then
of course
Jenny at the end with ECW, perfect.
ECW and like science fiction bullshit. So
And
uh,
bullshit. Yeah, Jenny and
yeah,
bullshit. Perfect.
perfect fit. So, all right. So season was a lot of fun. Let us know your favorites in the comments. Like, was there a favorite episode you liked, or something we did that you really got into, or that you found because of this too? Like, share with that.
Comment on the graph again if you want.
Yes, that was good. All right, season 2, Ryan. So we wanted to stick with our TV gimmick, right? So
Yeah,
our Excellent Adventures
45 minutes to an hour.
rarely going to be um pay-per-view. Like, I don't think we're ever going to touch pay-per-view. We really want to really focus on TV episodes.
Mhm.
This season will have things that weren't just 1 hour episodes, so we're going to work on how to adjust that. Are we going to just show an hour of the TV that had that segment, or are we just going to say screw it a couple times and maybe go over the hour? We'll see.
We'll see.
We'll talk through that. But for season 2, we're going to do famous televised heel turns. So I think there's a lot of cool ones that we have laid out. We have the season pretty much mapped, but
Do
again,
do we let a few out of the bag?
no, no,
Or
no. We'll surprise as
right.
we go. We let the topic out. We'll surprise as we go. We got a great guest lined up for the first episode of the season.
Perhaps you guys could guess them in the comments.
Yes, yeah. Take some
While
stabs
you
at what
mentioned
think.
how good my graph was, should we put it back up?
You can think about how good the graph was, and then if you want to lie and say it was fine, that's good. But I think we have some really fun ones. We really span again the eras. We are going to dip out of WWE a couple times to WCW, to ECW. So we'll give you that at least. But a lot of WWE ones in there as well. And again, think of only TV. Most of them are an hour-long shows, but there are a few in the later years where it was shows longer than an hour as well. So we'll get into those. But all right, be sure to check out everything in North South Connection. If you're watching on YouTube, thank you. Subscribe, leave us a like, and share away. Leave some comments as well. We appreciate you. Keep on this wonderful adventure with us, and we'll see you in 2 weeks with season 2.
See ya.
Where I turn heel on Ryan finally.